When we look at a patient with anorexia nervosa, we often think we see the same reality. The same food, the same body, the same mirror. But neuroscience suggests that the brain may process this stimuli very differently. This idea became the motivation for our eye-tracking research in eating disorders. Our team studies visual attention and cognitive processing in patients with anorexia nervosa, especially their reactions to food and body-related stimuli. We believe these patterns may help us better understand the neurobiology of eating disorders beyond conscious behavior alone. For me, this research became especially meaningful during the war in Ukraine. Chronic stress, trauma, anxiety, and instability can strongly affect mental health and eating behavior, particularly in vulnerable populations. I believe that accessible technologies like webcam-based eye tracking may eventually help improve earlier detection and support for patients with eating disorders, especially in countries affected by war and psychological trauma.
When we talk about anorexia nervosa, we usually talk about food, weight or body image, but our research looks at something that happens earlier – attention. With eye tracking, we can measure and show what the mind selects, what it avoids and what it keeps returning to. It serves as a mirror that reveals distortion. With the power of AI, we can create and demonstrate carefully selected images while recording where a person looks, how quickly they look there, how long they stay and whether they return. These small eye movements become data, and the data help us understand how a person processes emotionally significant information. And if we can measure these patterns, we can better understand anorexia nervosa and, eventually, support more precise interventions.
For many years, our National Eating Disorder Association in Ukraine has worked in prevention, education, and research in the field of eating disorders. For me, early detection in anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder is very important. I am also interested in more accessible and modern ways of diagnostic and support. I believe the eye tracking technology can help us better understand how people with eating disorders see food, body, and emotional information. For me, it is also important that Ukrainian specialists can be part of the international scientific and professional community, especially now, during war, chronic stress, and trauma.
In our research on eating disorder, especially anorexia nervosa, we are interested not only in symptoms, but in how people learn to perceive themselves, their bodies, and even their own needs. I think the boundary between health and disorder often exists somewhere between subjective experience and social norms that shape how we evaluate ourselves, usually without fully noticing it. Sometimes eating disorder begins as an attempt to regain control or to reject something in oneself or in the world. But over time, these patterns can become rigid and pathological habits. What motivates me is the possibility of connecting first-person experience with third-person scientific data. Using and tracking an EEG, we try to understand how attention reflects these hidden internal conflicts. I believe recovery is not only symptom reduction, but also the ability to become more aware of what constantly captures and shapes your attention.
I'm deeply grateful that my many years of experience as a psychologist specializing in eating disorders could contribute to this scientific project. It is also a great honor and happiness to present this promising and innovative work at the ISET World Conference in The Hague, Netherlands. Unfortunately, the world is becoming increasingly anxious and stressful place. Rapid remote diagnostics of anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder using eye tracking technology can enable early detection and help to accelerate the search for the most effective path to recovery and improves quality of life.